Hi everyone! So I'm doing another 3 looks 1 palette video today, and I am voicing over again just mostly because of laziness. It is easier for me to edit these. My skin is doing a little bit better, but my hives are breaking out again because, I mean, why not? I don't understand how bodies work, and I wish we had a return policy on them. I've been wanting Lila for probably almost 2 years now, and I just never really had a chance to buy it because why would you ever spend as much money as Natasha charges for her full-size palettes? And this is why I don't have Biba or Star yet either. It's the exact same reasons, although I do want them. But Lila actually went half off, and I'm pretty sure it's because it's being discontinued, so I did buy it. So you can see it right here, and there's actually not that many videos on this, not many recent ones anyways, so I hope this video can help you guys. I still kind of have my conspiracy theory that she's discontinuing all of her older palettes in this weird foamy faux leather packaging, and she's going to bring them back as part of her permanent collection as midi-sized plastic palettes. I still subscribe to that. Anyways, that's my conspiracy theory. Buy it or don't. So for the first look, I'm going to go in with this shade here, and it's 11 at night because I'm irresponsible and didn't film earlier, so I'm not going to do anything complicated today. And I'm just going to kind of use this to start structuring the shadow. I don't think I'm going to do anything crazy today. I don't know, I'm tired, my brain's not working. So this definitely gives me MAC Wedge vibes. Really nice shadow. Very pretty color. This is a really great eyelid contour shade for me for sure. I blended it out. It didn't take very long. I'm definitely really glad she does midi palettes now. I hope Biba and Star go half off someday. I especially really want Star so badly, but I just okay, that's a $200 palette, I think, or a $169. That's a bit steep, you know? I really want to play around with the metallics and just go ahead and do that, and then I'll go back in with darker mattes later, because I kind of don't want to lock myself in too soon, because I really want to mess around with these two here. So you can kind of see how this one here is duochrome, and then this one here is just a standard neutral colored metallic, and I really want to mess around with these, so I'm going to go in with this first on the inner part and then this on the outer part. I think one thing I hear people say a lot is that her older metallics are not as good as her newer ones, and me rubbing my finger, it feels less creamy than say the metallics in bronze, which are really nice. It feels more like the metallics in Zendo or something, which I don't have anymore because I didn't really like it. I don't know, the finish is this on the eyelid. It looks really good though. It doesn't look like it felt. I don't really have too many complaints about this. I feel like it's kind of a consistency that's very easy to blend with a blending brush if you wanted to. Yeah, it's not as punchy as some of her more kind of her more remarkable metallics. It's not as punchy, but it blends into the matte really well. Theoretically, I could just say this is a done look. I could just walk out the door with this if I worked an office job. I don't usually wear makeup to work because I don't think cats care if I'm wearing makeup or not, but I'm always open to being corrected. This could be a complete look all on its own, but of course, we're not done. Yeah, this is definitely, she has come a long way. This is very subtle. It has a time and a place, but this is definitely very, very subtle. I would definitely say for full price, if I got a shadow like this, I would feel pretty disappointed. Say the metallics and circle logo are way better. I do know some people on Reddit were saying that they bought from this half off thing and they felt like their palettes were expired, so I guess you'll never know, right? It's just one of those things where you just have to wonder. But me applying it with a finger, you can see how easily the edges kind of blended themselves out, so that is a pro to using a formula like this that's a little more powdery, is that it just kind of blends itself out like that. It is really pretty in this look. The subtlety of this look is definitely something I can really appreciate. And I'm gonna go into the darker one up here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of depth. I don't want to go too crazy. Very slightly darker than the matte I just put down, so it's not making too much of a dramatic difference. I will say the mattes in this palette are a little bit close together. It's kind of the other thing I can see people having issues with. And the darkest shade in here, the darkest kind of taupey-ish shade, looks like it's going to be more satin. I'll see when I use it in a future look. And then I'm just going to go in with the first matte I used, and I'm just going to make sure everything's nice and diffused. Honestly, this looks super nice actually. And then I'm just gonna kind of start deepening up the lower lash line to kind of match with the intensity of what's going on. Okay, so I think I might have, I don't know, I feel like I kind of ruined the effect I had going for me. I'm not sure. I'm gonna take a flat brush and I'm gonna kind of put on more metallic and just kind of see if I can get that effect back that I had. I feel like I just ruined it for myself somehow, I don't know. Okay, I think I got it back. I just kind of started, the dark matte just kind of got a little out of control and I feel like it took away some of the nice subtle gradations I had going, so I'm just kind of going back over top. These metallics apply so easily with a brush compared to other metallics from like Natasha Denona's most recent palettes and then other brands. I guess the old school metallic formula does have its upsides because like wow, this is like so easy to manipulate with a brush. I've never experienced that before. And I'm just gonna take this on the lower lash line as well. For those of you who don't know, I historically can never seem to make metallics work with a brush. Like literally every other YouTuber uses a brush for the metallics and it looks super great, and then I try it and nothing shows up. Nothing. I get nothing. Like I can't pick it up onto the brush and then it doesn't transfer to my eyelids, so I'm just kind of like, so I always end up using my fingers. I love this brownie metallic that I've been using. I love this one so much. There is one light colored metallic that will be great for my inner corner and I'm gonna use it today, so I'm gonna probably use it in a lot of looks, honestly. It's this one right here. It's got a nice balance of warm and cool to it, so it kind of looks like it can lean either way because this palette, you know, has both warm and cool shades. And it does seem kind of powdery. It's a little bit less creamy than the brown that I just put on, but it still picks up really well with the brush. Now today I used the Rare Beauty eyeshadow primer. I think for the next looks I'll try something a little tackier and see how that affects the performance of these shadows. Since these shadows do seem to be a little bit more dry and powdery, they might work better with a tackier base. They definitely feel more old school. Actually, me working and manipulating through these feels actually quite refreshing. And then I'm gonna take this and put it right on the center of my aegyo. I kind of have been experimenting with that lately again, of just kind of dropping it right in the center. Yeah, so you can kind of just see like a very slight highlight effect. So this is just gonna be what the look looks like. Again, I said when I first kind of opened the palette that this first look is not going to be super complicated, and I was right. If I had stopped earlier before all the craziness, this could have easily been a nice look to just kind of wear out during the day, and it would have just been a subtle neutral look, good for like no makeup or something. Obviously this is a little bit more crazy, which I like, but yeah, I'm gonna go finish up the rest of my face of makeup and then I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the finished look. I struggled with the cheeks because I thought I was going one way and then I wasn't, so I'm not gonna share what's on my cheeks because honestly I ended up using like 4 or 5 different products to try and like rescue myself, because at first I had something really light and pastel, really wasn't working with the weight of the rest of my face, so it like just made me look really unbalanced, so I ended up just kind of intensifying it a little bit. So but for the rest of my face I am wearing Big Cat Energy as my lashes. These are really wispy flared lashes with dark brown fibers mixed with black fibers. I got some glue up here, don't mind me. I lined my lips with a cooler pink lip liner, so because I wanted to do a pinker lip, and because my cheeks were kind of like not working out the way I wanted to, I ended up going with a bolder lip, which is fine, I do like that. So I went in with the YSL, the Slim Glow Matte in 204, which is right here. I'll roll it up a little bit for you so you can see, but as you can see here, it looks red. Like if I were to look at my entire Slim lipstick collection, it looks like I have a bunch of reds, but then you actually like swatch it on the back of your hand to see which one you want to use that day, and they suddenly all turn into like vastly different colors. Okay, I've gone on for long enough. That is going to be this look, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, there's nothing much to this look. I'll be diving into the purples in the next 2 looks for sure, and hopefully it'll be a little more interesting. Hello, so I'm back for another video. It's actually been I think 2 or 3 days of a gap since I filmed the first look to this video, so if I seem a little different or if topics seem to jump around, it is because it's been a few days. I did have to start another round of a different steroid, and this one is having some pretty nasty side effects, namely that when I'm on it I can't actually walk very well because the world kind of just feels like it's perpetually spinning while I'm on this medication. So long intro aside, I'm using the VDL eye primer in Serenity. You can see by the color of the cap here. This is from their collab with Faber-Castell. Is it not just the cutest thing ever? So previously I had done a very brown look. And after looking up, I read through Temptalia's review and swatches with her experience with this palette, and I learned a lot more about how the shimmers are formulated. So it's not just me, this palette is definitely not expired. We're not worrying about that. This palette just has an older formula. So now that I know, I will be able to use this palette with a little bit more education. So I'm going to start with this shade up here. And I'm gonna now go into this shade. I'm gonna start adding some depth. So yeah, as you can see, this shade, it's not matte for sure, but it definitely reads more satin. It's a lovely finish, actually. Using these shades makes me wish I'd gotten Tom Ford Metal Lust, but I just can't justify the money right now, so I didn't buy it. It was in stock for a pretty long time earlier this week, and I really thought about it. Like, I had my finger on the buy button and I was really thinking about it, but ultimately I had to pull back. If it restocks again, I might get it then, but I just don't really have the money right now because I might have mentioned it several videos ago, but my phone did die, and the phone I'm using now is very old and it really can't handle what I use it for. So because of that, it's really difficult for me to justify buying much right now because phones are such a scam. I think what I'm gonna do, I'm probably gonna end up getting the Google Pixel because that's really, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a phone, and I don't really feel like I want to switch to Apple yet. So I'm gonna get the Google Pixel, but even then you're still talking like what, $600 or so. So I feel really hesitant to buy makeup right now. I also know that the Sephora sale is coming up, so I'm trying my best to kind of hold off knowing that I'll be buying from that. Kind of didn't do a good job blending. I feel like it just is such a muddled shape, and I am using a Chikuhodo brush for this blending, so I do acknowledge that Natasha Denona's palette used to be rough around the edges. By the way, I don't think I'm gonna wait for the VIB sale to pick up the pastel palette. I have a feeling it might sell out if I wait that long, and I am literally, that's like the one makeup purchase I've been bracing for. Like, I told myself that, you know, I want to treat myself to something special after my surgery, and initially it was Metal Lust, but I think it'll actually end up being the pastel palette, and because I think if anyone can do a pastel palette, it would be Natasha, so forward to it. I am gonna probably just pick it up on the day of release from Sephora, and I'll put up a 3 Looks 1 palette with it pretty much as soon as I can. Alright, so let's dig into these purples. So I really want to use this purple down here so bad. I'm just gonna use this with Reckless Abandon. It kind of feels a little more satin. It feels dry in the pan. It doesn't feel creamy. It's kind of like a dry shimmer formula. But it's not powdery, like it's not like it's kicking up a bunch of particles everywhere. I just wanted to let you guys know. However, putting it on the eyelid, it does not feel satin like the previous shade I used did. It looks very shiny, it's very pretty, and it's got a really nice deep base pigment to it, so it's giving my eye a really super deep, intense, smoky feel. And because it's kind of powdery, I am able to really disperse the pigments with my finger very easily, and creamy shimmers are nice, but powdery shimmers do blend easier. I still think I prefer creamier shimmers just because they're so much more intense, and I love myself a punchy metallic. And then I'm gonna go in with a rougher 13. It's a very tight brush, perfect for situations like this where I just need to blend the top of the shimmer. Try and remember to stay in the lens, and I'm just going to work it like that. So pretty. And now I'm gonna go in with a finger to touch up the outer corner kind of satiny shade I used earlier. I just want to make sure I don't lose it. These shades, actually, I could see somebody using Lila and never once touching a brush. I am going to kind of take a highlight shade and run it across the entire top so that it doesn't look muddy underneath my eyebrow. I do notice with smoky looks, it's very easy for my eyebrow area to kind of start getting muddy because I have so little, I honestly really don't have that much lid space, so it's very easy for me to run a dark shade all the way up to my eyebrow, and then I'm just like, oops. This shade is kind of the lightest shade in this palette, so this will probably end up being used in all 3 looks, which is fine. So I'm just going to pop this in the inner corner, and again, this is kind of that powderier shade, so you can even pick it up with a fluffy brush like this and just lay it on the eye. It lays on really well, there's not any fallout or anything, and I'm just gonna run it all the way up to the top, separate off the eyeshadow from the brow bone. It has like it looks very silver, but it kind of has a very slight lavender, a drop of lavender. And then I'm gonna go back in with the purple and just kind of run the purple all the way up to that shade. Oh, I went off camera again. Okay, so I touched up the purple, looks really nice, and kind of make it more obvious that I winged the eyeshadow. So I'm just gonna go in with the flat side of this brush and draw a very loose general wing, and that's just gonna kind of add a little bit of sharpness to the eyeshadow. You can see there. I want to keep the lower lash line a little bit more kind of pulled back so it's not as obvious. So I'm actually going to, and I actually think the warm tones are really nice because purple and yellow are complementary colors. So there's these two tones up here, and I'm gonna go in with this one down here. I think this will be really nice to highlight my lower lash line without drawing too much attention to it. And this also kind of feels a little less pow pow metallic, a little bit borderline satin. And then I'm going to take more of that that satiny taupe I've been using, and I'm just going to make sure that the outer corner still has that contrast I want. Really pretty. And I'm not going to pull the silvery shadow into the lower lash line because, you know, it's bright enough. Alright, so let's just repeat this all in the other eye. I'm probably gonna cut out a lot of this footage just for the sake of brevity. I don't want this to go on and on and on. Basically, I'm just doing the exact same thing, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you to follow what I'm doing. So you can see how I always end up taking it, kind of goes all over the place because I'm using my finger. So that's what the highlight shade is gonna fix later. So that's going to be the eyes completed. So I'm going to go put on some false lashes. I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup and then I'll be right back. I went crazy on the blush because I couldn't help myself. I actually filmed a Kaleidos blush video while I was putting on the rest of my makeup because they all arrived while I was filming and I was like so excited. I just had to do a video where I put them all on my face so that you guys could see the colors. If you guys want to see what the Kaleidos blushes look like on my skin tone, I put all of them on somewhere on my face. So like for example, Sanguine, the most obvious one is right under my eyes. Yeah, I had a ton of fun with these. Joyride is kind of on the outside of my face, kind of like a blush bronzer kind of look going on. If I'm looking a little shiny, it's because it's like it's starting to become humid outside. We're starting to enter the humid springs and summers of North Carolina. Lovely. So I'm a little sweaty. I am wearing the Ardell Light as Air lashes in the number 522. This is what they look like. They are borderline too long for me, but they're very, very wispy. I think these are lashes I wouldn't be able to wear very often because they are extremely, extremely long, but with such a deep eyeshadow look, I can pull it off. So for the highlighter, I am wearing a Kaleidos highlighter, and I'm wearing Gifted, which is this one right here. Really pretty. You can kind of, I put it on pretty sheer so the shift is not super obvious, but definitely matches the look. And then for the lips, I have two Kaleidos lip clays, which Doe Lash Discord wasn't lying. These are so good, and now I really want more shades. I am wearing Adobe All Over with a lip liner, which I think I used just one of my random Jaclyn Cosmetics lip liners to overline my lips, and then I used Adobe All Over, and I just, a little too warm, a little too brown. I think I don't know if I necessarily like all the shades I got. They all look so brown for some reason. I did that, and I just kind of wanted to add a little dimension to my lips. It was looking a little flat for me, so I used Smeared Rouge on the very inside for gradation effect. It is a very deep kind of purple red, so you can see how I used that for kind of a classic Korean gradation lip. So yeah, that's gonna be this look, and I'll be back with a third look. Okay, hi everyone. I'm back to film the third and final look with this palette. I definitely want to use this final matte here and this up here, and then I'll just kind of see where I can go from there. You guys will bear with me, but let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna take a rougher 14, and I'm gonna start off with this very deep matte. I'm gonna pop this right in the outer corner only, and then everything else is going to be the shimmers. Honestly, is like kind of how I like it most of the time. Like I'm definitely a shimmer person, and I do want this to be a pretty structured shape for the matte shadow, so I want it to be winged out, and I don't want it to be too blown out or all over the place. In theory anyways, we all know how often my eyeshadow goes to plan. And I am still testing out that VDL eye primer in Serenity. The blue color lightens my eyelid in a really unusual way. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but I don't know. I think I would have rather they had just made a white eye primer instead of a blue one. Blue just seems like such a strange color of eye primer to make. Yeah, overall I find the mattes in this palette are very easy to work with. I don't think they're as good as the mattes in like Bronze or Glam, but they're not hard to like make work for you. Okay, so kind of like that. I'll start with that, and I can always go back in and build up more later. So now I'm gonna take this shade, which kind of flips between bronze and red. So on camera it looks very red, but when I'm looking at it in real life, it looks a lot more orange, bronze. Yeah, so on my finger it catches a very strong shift. That makes me pretty excited. I'm gonna put this on the outer part close to the mat. And it is, you know, it does blend out pretty far, so it kind of gets dragged further across my eyelid, but that's okay. It reminds me of a Cleonid shade I have, one of the multi-chromes that goes, I think like Forge is what it's called. It reminds me of that. Obviously this, that one is like, that one also shifts green too, so that one obviously is a little more impressive than this, but this kind of gives me those vibes. So I'm just going in and really just kind of working on building up that shadow. Yeah, it's really pretty actually. I have a spot on this eyelid where the eyeshadow is not sticking. That is because there is a pimple there, so if you see a very perfectly circular bald spot, that's not the eyeshadow, I just have a pimple there, so ignore that. And now I'm gonna go back into the matte and add the depth back in that I kind of lost a little bit of. Okay, so I'm gonna take a clean, fluffier brush and I'm just gonna blend the upper part, make sure there's no harsh edges up here. Could use a little bit more blending, so I'm gonna go into the lightest matte in this palette, which I used in the first look, and I'm just gonna use that to ever so slightly make sure that the top part is more diffused. Could use a little bit of help. So I'm just taking, it's just the lightest brown matte in this palette. I kind of feel like it like kind of went out of control there. So I kind of just mirrored the eyeshadow going up further on this eye so that at least it's symmetrical. It's kind of late at night, so I guess my brain's just not working. So I'm just gonna kind of define the wing a little bit more. Yeah, so I just ended up just kind of extending the shadow wings. That always fixes everything, right? Not my favorite look I've ever done, but doable. We'll get there. I'm gonna try placing this shadow right here kind of closer to my lash line. I'm gonna kind of experiment with gradient shimmers. And these shimmers seem to pick up easier on a brush than other shimmers that I've used. So I'm just gonna push this against my lash and create a gradient. So when I look down, you can kind of see. Actually, that looks pretty nice. Brush away the fallout. And now I think I do have room for this shade here. I think I do have room. I'll just pop it in the outer part, I think. Okay, yeah. It does have a pretty dark base, so I am gonna kind of pop this on the outer corner, I think is where it should go best. Just kind of wrap it around here, just kind of for some color interest. Yeah, it just kind of adds an interesting color interest in the outer part of my eye. So when I kind of turn my head, you kind of can see that flash there, which is actually pretty cool. I feel like it's very difficult for me to get a super clean blend with these, so to settle for messy looks. They're artistically messy, of course, duh. So that's kind of that. I did end up getting to mess around with a few more shimmers than I intended, which is always a lot of fun. So I'm gonna use this shade here, because I really want to lean into the orange that I had initially. Like, I don't want to give that up yet. Inner part. I also feel like I didn't really get to use it very much in the last look I did. It only went on the lower lash line, but this is such a beautiful metallic that I really wanted to kind of show it off for the final look. Yeah, so I just use my fingers to pop it on. This is honestly, aside from like me having fat fingers apparently, this is honestly a pretty finger-friendly palette. It's always fun for me. Yeah, so that makes for a really nice inner corner highlight. It's not like lighter than my skin color inner corner highlight, but it is lighter than the rest of the look, so you know, that's pretty much all you really need it to do. And then I love this lower corner shade so much. I'm gonna use this again. I am taking another Rephr 03. I'm so glad I have multiples of these, and I'm going to use this on the lower lash line. Again, I don't want to take away from the upper lash line, so I'm just keeping the lower lash line more toned down. like that. And Gates is snoring again. I'm gonna take the silvery shade and just pop it right in the middle, just so that it pops a little bit more. I am now going to take a little bit of this Brighten Up powder from Essence. Tara Babies was going on and on about it. And I'm going to use this powder to really get this eyeshadow looking as clean as I want it to. Translucent powder or powder that's kind of like a powder foundation that matches you is fine. So I'm gonna now put on lashes, I'll finish my makeup, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the finished makeup look. Actually, it turned out really, really nice. I am using the doe lashes in Fuckboy Repellent. Such a funny name. These are kind of the most dense lashes they have, but in exchange, they are shorter. Now, the original 1.0 was like even denser than this. I think 2.0 Fuckboy Repellent is actually pretty much superior because the lash band on this actually feels much sturdier. So I'm still getting my eye-opening effect while also getting these extremely dense but short lashes, so you can still see my eyeshadow. Now, I said I'm not completely pleased with this look, so the lashes do hide the eyeshadow a little bit more than normal, but that's kind of on purpose. I definitely love these, and I'm really glad that I got to try these out. These are a lovely pair and kind of going to be my new favorite, so definitely going to add this to my favorites list on my account. I was trying out the Clinique Quick Liner for Eyes Intense. I got this as a free gift with purchase. This reads very gray on me right now. I'm going to have to use it more obviously, but first go around it looks like a blue gray. And then I did pop it on the inner corner so you can see that my eyes look especially defined today. My cheeks are several things. So the bronzer I used is not super dark. It's actually quite light, so if you're any tanner than me, I don't think it'll show up on you at all. But the foundation I used today is actually like I think 1.5 shades lighter than my skin tone, so I do always have to use a very specific kind of bronzer when I use this foundation so that it matches, you know, just more dimension in my face. I don't look so flat. So the bronzer for that is something like Hoola Light, or it's something like this Too Faced Hot Cocoa bronzer. And then for blush, I use two products. So the first product I use as a base, this formulation of blush actually really super surprised me. I bought this back during Black Friday, but the Kylie blush in 211 Kitten Baby. This and the baby pink one are kind of the closest I would consider to American versions of Korean blushes. And is it just me, or is a lot of her new stuff super Korean? Like almost Korean just ripoffs? And then to add some depth right underneath my eyes, I did use the Romand Better Than Cheek in this shade right here. I told myself I need to use this more often, and so I've been working on it. This is 05. And then for highlighters, again, I mixed two shades. In addition to the Brighten Up Banana Powder, I also got the Pure Nude Highlighter. I mean, the product shot on Ulta's website did not look this dark. This is too dark for me, so I was able to work this into the outer parts of my highlighter. Right here, I used the Romand kind of, it's like called the Veil or something. It's in the orange shade here. I don't know if this is still available, but I have both it and the lavender ones, and I enjoy them both a lot. So I use that for like my nose, my chin. I used Flower Nose Revelation. I have definitely been on a brown lip kick lately, and I don't mind at all. So the first shade I used all over everything was Terra. I just used this all over. I lined my lips with a Buxom lip liner, and I didn't realize, but Buxom actually discontinued their plump line lip liner. And then in the inside, because I love a gradation, I used the Mersey tint in the shade M1. I can see how it feels dated, but I think it still has its own sense of elegance to it that I can absolutely appreciate, and I think is absolutely something a certain subset of people would like. Now, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I totally subscribe to the conspiracy theory that she's going to re-release these in her plastic midi packaging with updated formulas, and if that happens, yes, you'll get a review from me. I love Natasha Denona. I had a lot of fun with this. It felt, even though this is my first time using Lila, it felt nostalgic somehow. Feel like the makeup my mom used to have, or like my sister once had a really old Urban Decay palette that I sometimes used without her permission. Finishes kind of reminded me of old Urban Decay, so it just felt nostalgic. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm trying my best to film a ton, so lots more coming. So yeah, bye bye.